Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Hahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Namah Vishnu Hadaya, Krishna Presthaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desha Charane. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasa Adigor Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Om Apavitra Pavitro Va Sarva Avastangatopi Va Ya Smaret Pundarika Akshang Sabhaya Abhyantara Suchi. Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu, Sri Vishnu. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamahang Vandi Sri Gurung Dana Charanam. Yat Kripa Tamahang Vandi Parama Ananda Madhavam. Trinadapi Sunichena Tarad Eva Sahishnuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kivalam Kalo Nastyeva nastyeva gatir anyatha. Guru mukha padma vakya chitete koriya aikya arna koriho mane asha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is episode 3 of the Maushala Leela, the final pastimes of Lord Krishna's appearance on this earth 5,000 years ago, taken from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11. This episode is entitled Narada Muni Answers Vasudeva. Sri Shukadeva Goswami then said, "My dear Parikshit, eager to engage in the worship of Lord Krishna, Narada Muni stayed for some time in Dwaraka, which is always protected by the arms of Sri Govinda. My dear king, in this material world, the conditioned souls are confronted by death at every step of life. Therefore, who among the conditioned souls would not render service to the lotus feet of Mukunda, the Supreme Lord who gives liberation and who is worshipable even for the greatest of those who are liberated?" One day, the sage among the demigods, Narada Muni, came to the house of Vasudeva. After worshipping Narada with suitable paraphernalia, seating him comfortably and respectfully bowing down to him, Vasudeva spoke as follows: "My lord, your visit, like that of a father to his children, is for the benefit of all living beings. You, Narada, especially help the most wretched among them, as well as those who are already advanced on the path towards the Supreme Lord, who is known as Uttama Shloka, that personality who is glorified and praised by very select Vedic verses. The activities of the demigods lead to both misery and happiness for the living beings. But the activities of great saints like you, Narada, who have accepted the infallible Lord Achyuta as their very life and soul, result only in the happiness of all beings. However, those who worship demigods receive reciprocation from them in a way just corresponding to their offering. The demigods are attendants of karma, like a person's shadow, but sadhus, devotees, are actually merciful to the fallen. O Brahmana, although I am satisfied simply by seeing you, still I wish to inquire about those duties which give pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any mortal who faithfully hears about them is freed from all kinds of fear. In a previous birth on this earth, I worshiped the Supreme Lord Anantadeva, who alone can award liberation. But because I desired to have a child, I did not worship Krishna for liberation. In this way, I was bewildered by Krishna's illusory energy. My dear Narada, you are always true to your vow. So please instruct me clearly, so that by your mercy I may easily free myself from material existence, which is full of many dangers and keeps us constantly bound in fear. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. Narada Muni might have been reluctant to instruct Vasudeva because of natural respect for Vasudeva's exalted position as the father of Krishna. Narada might have thought that since Vasudeva was already perfect in Krishna consciousness, there was no need to instruct Vasudeva in the process of devotional service. Therefore, anticipating Narada's possible reluctance, Vasudeva specifically requested Narada to preach to him about devotional service to Krishna. At this time, Vasudeva was remembering the words Krishna had spoken to him when Krishna had originally appeared as four-armed Vishnu in the prison of Kamsa. Vasudeva had heard of the recent curse of the Brahmanas at Pindararaka against the Yadu dynasty, and Vasudeva could understand from this curse that Krishna's disappearance from the earth was imminent. Vasudeva understood that Krishna's manifest pastimes within this universe were soon coming to an end, and Vasudeva now lamented that he had not directly taken advantage of this opportunity to worship Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. Vasudeva very much feared the curse of the Brahmanas, for just as one can become perfect by worshipping devotees, by displeasing Vaishnavas, one can bring about all misfortune. Thus, Vasudeva feared the curse delivered by the Brahmanas at Pindaraka Tirtha. Sri Shukadeva Goswami then said, O King Parikshit, Devarsi Narada was pleased by the questions of the highly intelligent Vasudeva, and because they suggested the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they reminded Narada of Lord Krishna. Thus, Narada replied to Vasudeva as follows. O Vasudeva, best of the Sattvatas, you have quite correctly asked about the eternal duty of the living entity toward the Supreme Lord. Such devotional service to the Lord is so potent that its performance can purify the entire universe. Pure devotional service rendered to the Supreme Lord is spiritually so potent that simply by hearing about such transcendental service, by chanting its glories in response, by meditating upon it, by respectfully and faithfully accepting it, or even by praising the devotional service of others, even persons who hate the demigods as well as all other living beings can immediately be purified. Today, you have made me remember my Lord, the supremely blissful personality of Godhead, Narayana, The Supreme Lord is so auspicious that whoever hears and chants about the Lord becomes completely pious. To explain the devotional service of the Lord, sages have related the ancient history of the conversation between the great soul, King Videha, and the 9 sons of Rishabhadev. Swayambhuva Manu had a son named Maharaj Priyavrata, and among Priyavrata's sons was Agnidra. From Agnidra was born Nabi, and his son was known as Rishabhadev. Sri Rishabhadev is accepted as an expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. Rishabhadev incarnated in this world to propagate those religious principles which lead living entities to ultimate liberation. Rishabhadev had 100 sons, all perfect in Vedic knowledge. Of the 100 sons of Rishabhadev, the eldest, Bharata, was completely devoted to Lord Narayana. And it is because of Bharata's fame that this planet is now celebrated as the Great Bharata Varsha. King Bharata rejected this material world, considering all types of material pleasure temporary and useless. Leaving aside his beautiful young wife and family, King Bharata worshipped Lord Hari by severe austerities and ultimately attained the abode of the Lord after 3 lifetimes. As King Bharata, he became attached to a deer, and at the time of death thought of the deer. And so, although Bharata was almost completely perfect in God realization, because of this attachment to the deer, he had to take his next birth as a deer. But Krishna was so kind to Bharat that even in the body of a deer, he could understand why he had taken such a birth. And so, in the form of a deer, Bharata made sure that he was not going to commit the same mistake again. So, after giving up the body of a deer, he took his next birth as the son of a Brahmana, and he was known as Jada Bharat. And at the end of this life, he achieved complete perfection. 9 of the remaining sons of Rishabhadev became rulers of the 9 islands of Bharatavarsha, and they exercised complete sovereignty over this planet Earth. 81 sons became twice-born Brahmanas and helped to initiate the Karmakanda, or path of fruitive sacrifices. The 9 remaining sons of Lord Rishabha were greatly fortunate sages who worked vigorously to spread knowledge of the absolute truth. They wandered about naked and were very well versed in spiritual science. Their names were Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, Avirhotra, Drimala, Chamasa, and Karabhajana. These 9 sages wandered the earth, seeing the entire universe with all of its gross and subtle objects as a manifestation of the Supreme Lord and non-different from the self. These 9 Yogindras are liberated souls who travel freely to the planets of the demigods, as well as the perfected mystics, the sadhyas, the heavenly musicians, the yakshas, the human beings, and the minor demigods like kinnaras and nagas. No mundane force can check the free movement of these Nava-yogendras, and exactly as they wish, they can travel as well to the world of the sages, angels, ghostly followers of Lord Shiva, Vidyadharas, Brahmanas, and cows. Once in Ajanaba, the former name of the earth, the Nava-yogendras came upon the sacrificial performance of the great soul Maharaj Nimi, which was being carried out under the direction of elevated sages. My dear Vasudeva, seeing those pure devotees of the Lord, who rivaled the sun in brilliance, everyone present, namely the performer of the sacrifice, the brahmanas, and even the sacrificial fires, stood in respect. King Nimi of the Deha understood that these 9 sages were exalted devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, overjoyed at their auspicious arrival, Nimi offered the Nava-yogendras suitable sitting places, worshiping them in a proper way, just as one would worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Overwhelmed by transcendental joy, King Nimi humbly bowed his head and then proceeded to question the 9 sages. Those 9 great souls glowed with their own effulgence and thus appeared to be equal to the 4 Kumaras, the original first sons of Lord Brahma. King Videha then said, I think that you must be direct associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Madhusudana, famous as the enemy of the demon Madhu. Indeed, pure devotees of Lord Vishnu wander throughout the universe not for their personal selfish interest, but just to purify all the conditioned souls. For the conditioned souls, the human body is most difficult to achieve, and it can be lost at any moment. But I think that even those who have achieved human life rarely gain the association of pure devotees who are dear to Narayana, the Lord of Vaikuntha. Therefore, O completely sinless ones, I ask you to kindly tell me, what is the supreme good? After all, even a half a moment's association with pure devotees within this world of birth and death is a priceless treasure for any man. Please speak about how one can engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord, if you consider me capable of properly hearing these topics. When a living entity offers loving service to the Supreme Lord, the Lord is immediately satisfied, and in return, the Lord will give even His own self to such a surrendered soul. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. Nimi, the king of Videha thus asked the following 9 questions of the Nava Yogendras, the 9 saintly sons of Lord Rishabha. Number 1. What is the highest good? Number 2. What are the religious principles, dharma, natural proclivities, swabhava, behavior, achar, speech, vakya, and outward symptoms, lakshana, of a Bhagavata, Vaishnava devotee of the Lord? What is the external energy of Vishnu? Number 4. How can one become disassociated from Maya? Number 5. What is the true identity of Brahman? Number 6. What are the symptoms of the 3 types of karma, namely, karma based on the enjoyment of fruits of work, karma offered to the Supreme Lord, and Naishkarmya? Number 7. What are the respective pastimes of the various incarnations of Godhead? Number 8. What is the aim or destination of one who is against the Supreme Lord and who is devoid of bhakti? In other words, what is the aim or destination of the non-devotee? And finally, what are the respective colors, forms, and names of the 4 Yuga avatars, the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, who appear in the 4 ages, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali? And also, what is the process of worshiping each and one of those incarnations? Sri Narada then said, O Vasudeva, when Maharaj Nimi had thus inquired from the Nava-yogendras about devotional service to the Lord, those best of saintly persons thanked the king for his questions and spoke to Maharaj Nimi with affection in the presence of the members of the sacrificial assembly and the Brahmana priests. The Nava-yogendras answered each of the king's questions one after another, each one of the Nava-yogendras tackling one of the 9 questions. And after having thus heard the science of devotional service, Nimi, the king of Mithila, felt extremely satisfied, and along with the sacrificial priests, offered respectful worship to the sagacious sons of Jayanti, wife of Rishabhadev. The 9 perfect sages then disappeared before the eyes of everyone present. King Nimi faithfully practiced the principles of spiritual life which he had learned from the Nava-yogendras, and thus King Nimi achieved the supreme goal of life. O greatly fortunate Vasudeva, simply apply with faith these principles of devotional service which you have now heard, and thus, being free from material association, you will attain the Supreme. Indeed, the whole world has become filled with the glories of you and your good wife Devaki, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Hari, has taken the position of your son. My dear Vasudeva, you and Devaki have manifested great transcendental love for Krishna accepting him as your son. Indeed, you are always seeing the Lord, embracing him, speaking with him, resting with him, sitting together with him, and taking your meals with him. And by such affectionate and intimate association with Krishna, undoubtedly both of you have completely purified your hearts. In other words, you are already perfect. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. Inimical kings like Shishupal, Poundraka, and Shalva were always thinking about Lord Krishna. Even while they were lying down, sitting, or engaging in other activities, enviously they meditated upon the bodily movements of Krishna. They meditated upon Krishna's sporting pastimes. They meditated upon Krishna's loving glances upon his devotees. And they meditated upon all the other attractive features displayed by Krishna. And being thus always absorbed in Krishna, those very demons achieved spiritual liberation into the Lord's own abode. What then can be said of the benedictions offered to those who constantly fix their minds on Lord Krishna in a favorable, loving mood? Do not think of Krishna as an ordinary child, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is inexhaustible, and Krishna is the soul of all beings. Krishna has concealed his inconceivable opulences, and thus outwardly he appears to be an ordinary human being. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended to earth in order to kill the demoniac kings who were burdening the earth. And Krishna also descended to protect the saintly devotees. This is confirmed by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. However, both the demons and devotees are awarded liberation by the mercy of Krishna. And thus, Krishna's transcendental fame has spread throughout the universe. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued. Having thus heard this narration, the greatly fortunate Vasudeva was completely struck with wonder. Thus he and his most beloved wife Devaki gave up all illusion and anxiety that had entered their hearts. Anyone who meditates on this pious historical narration with fixed attention will purify him or herself of all contamination in this very life, and thus achieve the highest spiritual perfection. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlad Aklad Dayane Hiranya Kashipur Vakshaha Shilatang Kana Kalaye. Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho. Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsimha. Bahir Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimho. Nrsimham Ading Sharanang Prapadye. Namaste Narasimhaya. Nrsimham Ading Sharanang Prapadye. Tavakara Kamala Bare Nakam Adbhuta Sringham. Dalita Hiranya Kashipo Tanu Bringam. Keshavadrita Nara Hari Rupa. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Keshavadrita Nrsimha Rupa. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha. Jai Jagadisha. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Tat